Okay, let's just do a couple of minutes with the hands behind the back. This is just aimed to get us into a slightly better posture. A posture more like one that we would be in if we were standing or walking around. The upper heart is lifting upwards. Prayer is lifting the heart to God. So this is a posture of prayer. And then let's try just one round for the eyes, just rubbing the hands. Trying to keep my shoulders relaxed. And then the hands over the eyes. Again, the shoulders relaxing down the arms, like your elbows are getting heavier and heavier. So your spine has to get stronger and stronger to stop yourself from drooping forwards. You can have the eyes open or closed beneath the palms. We just want it to be completely black. It's so black, you're not sure whether you've got your eyes open or closed. The shoulders will always want to be pulling up towards the ears, so we have to consciously keep them relaxing. And then just bring the hands down and closing the eyes strongly, pulling in the belly at the same time, and then opening them strongly. So these are the slow, intense blinks. So we normally do 6 of these. And then a series of quick blinks. So, up, 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 up. And now let's just bring the hands into prayer posture. We want this to feel similar to when we have the arms crossed behind the back. So you can bring your thumbs into the mid-chest and just feel as though you're trying to work the sternum upwards a little bit with your hands. An even cheerfulness. The eyes are still relaxed. Try and resist the temptation to look at things. Let the eyes feel as though they're looking back into you rather than out at the world. Let's just come into riding horse just to start. The heavy sacrum, which is pulling down, and the light heart, which is lifting up. I have to try and let the sacrum swing forwards very slightly so that it's beneath my heart, and then I will get the sinking sacrum and the lifting heart naturally. Gravity will do it for me. Prayer, the lifting of the heart, should be natural. If you've got correct posture, then it's natural. You don't have to work at it. It'll be there, going on in the background all the time. So the way we live nowadays, we have a body that is not active enough, and we have a mind that is far too active in the wrong way. So our bodies are designed to do a lot more physical work than we do. They're designed to forage, basically, and hunt, move enormous distances through the day. And our minds are designed to observe the environment that we're in. So if you're in a natural environment with someone that's from that natural environment, you'll be amazed how much more they notice than you do. They're just used to it. They're used to, oh yeah, there. That's the way the mind is meant to be used. It's not meant to be thinking to itself. That's very coarse and vulgar. Deflates the spirit and coarsens the energy. Let's just try turning, because turning is what we call pure movement. I turn, and I just want to make sure that my head goes with me. So everything is moving. It's as though I'm still and the room is swirling around me. So I'm producing pure movement when I turn. The body is picking up centrifugal energy. It's being flung outwards. And my mind, if it's not worried and thinking to itself, will just naturally find the still center. Because the mind wants to find a still center of stability from which it can look out and observe the world. Feel the swirling, feel this turning, like I'm being wrapped up in swaddling sheets endlessly. For that, I just have to let my eyes go. This is another exercise from the Bates method of eye education, of which the palming that we did at the beginning is their primary exercise. Moving the head and just letting the eyes be with the movement rather than trying to latch onto the objects in the room. Getting used to just blurring your eyes and letting them just pass the world by. This is so important. Every now and then you glance at the screen, otherwise you're oblivious to the screen. Your eyes are hooding, they're almost blind, but you get a real sense that the other end of the line of sight, not the end that's looking outward, the other end is drawing down through your body and into your dantian. So as you hood the eyes, you look inwards. And you're happy, you're content with that, because there's a feeling of immense peace that comes when the anxious mind stops thinking and worrying to itself. I think of it as being like on a swing. You know how pleasurable it is just to sit on a swing? That's the good thing about becoming a dad again. I could sit on the swing with her. Drifting, just swinging backwards and forwards, or here, left and right. And it's almost lulling you to sleep. This is what we want. We want the mind to go to sleep and the heart to wake up. And then going into the second one, where we move back into the foot rather than forwards. But with this same feeling of this real circularity around my spine. Even though I'm moving side to side, I don't feel the movement side to side, I just feel the turning. And then let's just bring it back to riding horse. Still trying to resist the temptation to look at things. My eyes are hooded, they're blurred, and I just get this real sense that I'm looking inwards, not from here, looking down like this, but from the other end of the line. So rather than my eyes, the optic nerves of my eyes attaching into my brain, there's a sense that they go through my body and into my gut, into my Dan Qian. A response to the world that is stimulated by something that you see initiates a response from your instincts, from your gut, rather than something that you've thought about and made calculations about. This is very important for the martial artist. John always used to say, if ever you get into a fight, just hope that it happens so quickly that you don't have time to think. Because normal thinking is incredibly slow and will just cause you to lose the fight. You just need to respond automatically and naturally, almost telepathically. John was interested in this notion of before. Can I be so in tuned that my response comes out before the action that stimulates the response? So almost sort of telepathic. Here in Israel, there's a lot of what they call metapellets, so carers, Filipini women, Indian, sometimes men. And they're lovely because they're carers. And you'll often get stories of, I had one old lady and she used to say, she's wonderful. She knows what I want before I even say it. So it's like they're sort of one step ahead, and it just gives these old Israeli women just sense of just such, like they're being cared for in a way that hasn't happened since they were children. circle like this, using the legs to go down rather than inclining the back. Not looking at things. My mind is with my own inner stillness. I'm in the center of a circle that I'm sort of turning around, and that's where I want my mind to be. My mind is at the still center. So we want a feeling of softness, and we want a feeling for energy. Very aware of the movement, this flowing but gentle movement. And then the other way. Energy is just movement. It's movement without the thing that's moving. So if you feel this trace that you're making and feel that it's already there and you're being drawn along it by your sensitivity to its presence, that's energy. So there's like a sense of reverence to it. It's like you're almost worshipping it. You're having to really listen and serve its movement, serve its presence. And then just winding it down. So if the energy is there before the movement that's tracing it, then where does the energy come from? It comes from your mind, but it's like a really deep, settled mind. It's not a mind that's anxious. It's just there. It's there in your mind, and therefore it's there in the energy, and therefore your body follows it. So that's the sense of mind that we're trying to get to. Let's just go backwards and forwards. Just the way we used to do it, but slowly. What I'm doing, I'm tracing the figure of 8 around the foot, really. So here I'm going over my top of my foot. feeling it in the front foot, but it's also in the back foot. So both feet, I'm coming around the toes. And then as I go back, I'm going around the heel of each foot. Here, it's as I come forward, it's more the front foot. As I go back, it's more the back foot, but both feet. So I'm tracing the figure of 8 within my foot with my hands as I go backwards and forwards. Part I just need to concentrate on because we're not used to it is the heel. So we're used to going over the top of the figure of 8 because whenever I do this, whenever I make circles, I'm basically going over the top of the figure of 8 and omitting the bottom of it. So here I'm going over the top of the figure of 8, but then here I'm digging down and coming under the figure of 8. And that's the part I need to concentrate on because that's the bit that I'm not used to. So this is all in front of me and coming up. And then most of this is behind me and sinking down. So the easy bit is this, going over the top of the figure of 8, because as I go over the top, it's like something expands. My heart opens and lifts. That's easy to feel, and it's nice, it's pleasant. But now here, as I expand around the bottom of the figure of 8, it's like something really opens up here, which is more difficult to deal with. Because it's darker and less visible, more of the earth. This is more sort of the heavens, where by heaven we mean anything above the surface of the earth. So this is earthy, it's meaty, it's of the body, it's of the dirt, of the filth, of the excrement. And then this is of the air and the lightness and the brightness. So I have to allow myself to go through that range of feeling, which can be induced by imagery if you find it difficult to feel it inside. Forwards into the front foot, back into the back foot, coming forwards into the front of the front foot, going back into the heel of the back foot. Change the legs around. And now just going backwards and forwards in the same way, but now just with the arms pushing. So the cross energy, as I sink back into my back foot, my front hand extends forwards. As I come forwards into my front foot, my back hand extends forwards. Feel the pathway through the body. As I sink back into the back foot, the energy is coming up across the sacrum, up the spine and into this shoulder and down this arm. And then as I come into the front foot, it's coming like this. So the front foot is very different because it's as though it's coming from in front of me up, and then back the way it's come. Whereas when I go into the back foot, it's very much coming from behind me, up my body and out in my front. So the two hands feel very different, and we just want to acknowledge that. And then we want to feel the yielding. So this sense of your chest beneath your collarbone sucking in order to start the movement, start the yield. So here as I yield, my body's moving back. Here as I yield, my body's moving forwards. So I need to have a real sense that this part here is sucking backwards as the body's moving forwards. So it's the point at which your straightening arm starts to bend as your attack becomes a yield. Yielding is just producing a container that will enclose and comfortably contain the other person. I need the inside of the container to be really soft and welcoming. And then just start to feel it in the groin. So this part here beneath my collarbone softens and sucks in. And that magically allows the shoulder blade to release from the spine and my arm to come forwards and become longer. Because effectively from the spine to the shoulder has grown. So one part of my body is sucking backwards, this part here beneath my collarbone, to create a sense of a hole, a sense of a vacuum that's sucking the other person, at the same time that the arm itself reaches behind the person. This is the feeling. I want to feel it in the groin as well, because exactly the same thing is happening here. This is softening and sinking in, which allows my hip bone to feel as though it's releasing from the sacrum and extending around like this. This is the wing of the legs, the same as the wing of the arms. So here, my wing extends from my back, also from the sacroiliac. So let's just bring it back. I want to bring my mind back, not simply to the posture, but to the central equilibrium, this feeling of sinking down, producing this feeling of rising upwards. And then we just try just a little bit of this one. Just because we want to get into the figure of 8 in the foot. So one hand is going around the top of the figure of 8. The other hand is going around the bottom of the figure of 8. The hand that's coming up is with the part of the figure of 8 in the foot that's coming around the toes. The hand that's going down is with the part of the figure of 8 that's going around the heel. Doing the two figures of 8s with my hands, but I'm feeling it in the feet. Sense that when my foot is on the ground, it's never still. It's sort of wriggling away and twisting, almost writhing on the ground. So to produce these traces, these figures of 8s, it's not enough simply to see it in your mind's eye. You have to make the energy. And for that, you need to get used to almost creating like a peristaltic flow. Something inside you is tightening to squeeze the energy a little further, and then you move up and squeeze again, it goes a little further, squeeze again, it goes a little further. So I'm squeezing this figure of 8 around my foot. This is the sense of spirit and determination and will that we need to cultivate in the mind. So I'm really making this energetic. I'm making it move, something really move in my foot, not just my mind seeing movement or creating a seeming line. So here, it's physical. I'm using energy to move something that's physical. The same as, peristalsis moves, the food through your alimentary canal. But it's energy, it's just these tightening things in the muscles. The muscles aren't actually moving with the food. You've got one set moves here, then the next set, then the next, then the next. So that's the sense of flow in the body. And it is difficult, and it takes a lot of energy, a lot of concentration, and a little bit of madness. There's something in you just has to become a little bit crazy just to get it to happen. And then when it does happen, you feel like it's really about to explode at any moment. That's the feeling. So it's a very delicately poised equilibrium. This is why we try and bring the heel off the ground, because it gives it that sense of shaky wobble that's about to collapse or explode at any moment. Begin to feel the bottom hand that's going around the heel, just looping behind you a little bit. Not the feeling that your body is not behind the action, but is right in the middle of it. So there's stuff happening behind you and in front of you. Either side, underneath, over the top, you're right in the middle. Bring it back. So the main adjustment that we need to make as human beings that are not content with the depressive state, with ease and comfort and peace. There's something about that that stops being attractive after a while. You just need a bit of oomph, a bit of real life. We need to make our hearts more buoyant. And it's not a simple matter. It's not a matter of just saying, oh, I'm cheerful, I'm running around and being silly, because it's false. That we need to do a lot of work on just releasing all of the crusted, scabby growths on our spine, so that we can have ease of movement up and down the spine. Something can flow up, something can flow down. And then when the spine is freed up, then this wants to lift up, and you don't have to be happy or in a good mood or whatever. It's just there. It's just there, and it's natural. You're in a state of constant prayer because your spine has released all of its traumatic conditioning. This is the thing. I mean, nowadays we are all living in a state of real trauma. If we weren't, then we'd be enlightened. And what people have chosen, they've chosen to live the bourgeois life. They've chosen to live a life that manages very well to avoid ever having to look at that trauma. People can have the impression that they're perfect. They're perfect consumers, but with no energy and no real spirit. Because in order to release spirit and venture into those mysterious realms of spirit and energy, you need to be free of your trauma. You need to be free of the pain. And it's difficult because most of the trauma that we carry is from either past lives, from our parents, from our tribe. So if you can say, oh yeah, I'm having problems because someone was nasty to me when I was little, then you're lucky, because at least you can see the cause. And then you can do something about it, but you really have to look at it. It's not easy. It's not easy to turn the spotlight back on yourself, because very quickly you begin to realize no one else is to blame. It's all your fault. And you have to do the work to get rid of it. You can't expect anyone else to do it for you. So let's just bring it up. So John used to say, we all start off when we start the work, we all start off as mediocre students. A mediocre student is cursed by two things: laziness and forgetfulness. So they're reluctant to work, and because of that, largely, they forget. They have to be constantly reminded by the teacher. So everyone starts off like that. Now, John always used to say the task for us is to become good students. A good student is simply one that develops a practice, a regular daily practice. This is why they say, if you do that, then you will become the good student. You'll become the student that is just so enamored and so engrossed by the work that they just don't want anything else in their lives. It becomes an obsession. They're possessed. So if the student fails to develop this regular practice time, then they will slowly become the bad student, the poor student. In order to protect themselves from the barrage of teaching that they receive each week from the teacher, they will start to disparage the teaching. In the Tao Te Ching, it says they will begin to mock. And so that's the poor student. And we all have a little bit of each one in us, you know. So this is what happened to me when we were in Blakeney. Because I was just so depressed and so lonely, I became a poor student. I became so critical of John and his ways that effectively I have become the poor student. And it was only really leaving all of that behind and coming to Israel and getting down to my own work that I fell in love with Tai Chi again.